Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by. Welcome. I thought I'd give a hello to a few women who I know will be watching tonight. Hi Marjorie, hi Jody, I'll be interviewing you shortly. Can't wait for that one. Oksana, Kim, Narelle, hi. Yeah, I really need to do a Facebook Live soon, but I'm working up to that. So, as I mentioned, I wanted to share with you some of the changes that have taken place for me over the last 9 weeks. I'm sitting here with a little Zen round. My life has changed quite dramatically. I would never, ever in a million years think that I'd be closing out 2018, no longer being raw vegan or vegan. I'm certainly eating all raw food because I love it. I've just brought in some animal foods and I'll share more about that. So obviously it is a very interesting controversy, the veganism and the eating of animals. And nonetheless, what I still feel it comes back to is following our own inner guidance, because we're all living different realities in our own worlds. I'm here in North Thailand, rural Thailand. And before I kind of talk further on what's actually taken place, I just want to say that I'm living in a different environment. The animal foods I have been eating, fish straight from the river, and wild black chicken, is so far from the conventional foods and the farm factory foods that people who live in cities are being fed. And so it's a very different experience. Why? Because, well, the food is naturally organic. It hasn't been altered with hormones or antibiotics or growth improvers and all kinds of stuff. It also has a higher nutrient profile, therefore. But also I know where it's coming from. And it's a whole different culture here. And so that makes a big difference to me. And throughout my life, I've had periods of time where I've lived very close to nature. I spent 8 years in the mountains of Tasmania, which was pretty radical. For, again, most of my friends thought, and my family. But it was one of the best educational times, learning times for me. I lived in the mountains with my daughter, and I ate quite a lot of wild foods, blackberries and wild apples and mushrooms. And pardon me, and at that time in my life, it was around the middle 90s, mid 90s. I actually went through a period where I did eat some animal foods, and actually they were wild animals from around the area. Again, a neighbour would kill them, and I was very much into living off the land a bit more, getting in contact and connected with our innate instinctual ways of living in sync with the cycles of nature, and in a sacred way, I guess, with a bit of reverence, but also to nourish ourselves as we've done for thousands and thousands of years. Now, obviously, the raw veganism was a huge turning point for me, and I must say I've been having some conversations with some other, I don't want to say ex-vegans, but they were, who've now gone on to animal foods because they were having similar things that were happening for me. Now, I'm not saying that all raw vegans who have been raw for decades are going to encounter these kind of things. There's certainly a lot happens behind the scenes, but we've all got unique physiologies too, in a certain degree, and it's not so much the physiology anatomically we're the same, but it's a multifaceted effect that the cells are influenced by. It's not just what we put in our mouth, our emotional state, our environment, our ancestral responses and patterns and behaviours and all these things, the habits we acquire, all play a role in the expression of our health and well-being. So therefore, I think it's really important to get a really strong alliance with yourself and to listen and most importantly act on promptings, whispers that we often say, or nudges, to do something, particularly if you've been getting some red flags. So what happened to me is initially, it's only been this year, and I've been honest and come out to a couple of groups I've just got involved with, a couple of people have added me to, who consist mainly of ex-vegans who, long-term ones often, who've also found that their health and well-being improved greatly. Now, why I find this so fascinating is because the effect I had from eating some fish and eggs and then chicken was so immediate on my physical body and mental body that it was just too profound to discount it in any way or discard what was happening or to let opinion and judgments and beliefs and dogmas override it. So the one thing that I found that was really quite striking in what happened to me is my sleep. Once I began to have some eggs and then fish and then little chicken, I actually began to sleep more deeply than I've slept for such a long time. And I was having difficulty in falling asleep, and it was going on. And then there was a low-level anxiety that was happening, and I had no reason to be anxious, but it was happening. And this was because my adrenals and my blood sugar was starting to go a bit haywire. And you've got to remember, I was fruitarian for 3 years. I did that experiment. And the raw veganism, well, every, say, 12 months, I would get intense cravings for eggs. And I would actually have a few and then go back to being raw. And this apparently happened to a couple of other long-term raw vegans that I know. I mean, I love the ideology. I love a lot about raw veganism. It's just that, with the background I have too in homeopathy, biology too, we have certain enzymes in our body that are made to digest meats. And we've thrived and grown as a species eating meat, as well. So what I found is that for me, having all raw vegetables and fruits and just adding in some animal products has made a world of difference. So first of all, what I noticed was my hair stopped falling immediately within 2 to 3 days, right? Immediately the sensation of feeling like it just itchy, my scalp wanted to come out and fall out. But it doesn't matter what I did, and I know people might say, oh, you weren't doing this right and you weren't doing wrong. I tried every type of raw vegan protocol, and I also tweaked my own because I have an ability to kind of be aware of any changes in my body, slight ones, and I adjusted accordingly. So I tried low fat, then I tried high fat. I definitely feel the fruitarianism, the period of time I did it for, greatly weakened my kidneys, if you like. So, and the ideology, the basis of it is also, a dreamy, romantic ideology that we all love to a certain degree. But is it sustainable? This is the question. There's no doubt, and I've done a lot of retreats and held detoxing weekends, programs I've run. I've worked one-on-one with people, and there's no question about that, or no doubt that the raw fruits and vegetables are extremely cleansing and healing. I've seen some amazing transformations. But we then get a signal to start eating more building foods, and often it comes in the form of eggs or fish, and we override it. And I really feel that these foods do offer a healing and help our bodies build and produce hormones and fats. The more I've gone into it, the more that I can see that we have been made to digest meats. If we weren't, we'd be having all kinds of reactions. And many of you may have heard that a lot of people are gravitating towards an all carnivore kind of lifestyle or diet because of immune disorders or problems that really only appear to be rectified through elimination and down to having just meat, and their health improved greatly. So this is kind of turning a lot of my learnings and teachings upside down. In other words, it doesn't turn it on its head, it hasn't gone opposite, but it's broadened and out. So not only did my hair stop falling out, the itchiness went, and my hair is growing back at the temples. It's just wonderful. I tried lots of things with the hair thing because, I also know about Chinese medicine, so I knew there was a weakness occurring in the kidneys. However, I cut down fruit, I cut out a lot of things, but I still had it going on. So, and I'm a person who is quite active. I do a lot of things. What would you say? I can overextend myself a lot. I push myself a lot physically, and I have done that a lot in the past. So I kind of chew up the nutrients, The other thing I was doing was spending an enormous amount of money on supplements. And I don't think there's one vegan I know that's not taking a truckload of supplements. And a lot of those supplements, I used to sell them as well or recommend them to people. And, I was doing the same thing. So it's just funny having this other perspective. It's not funny, but it's almost like a veil's been lifted, because I've really begun to see that there's not many people who've travelled this path for the long period of time that I have. And all I know is that now that I'm in my 60s and 63rd year coming up, that, I certainly don't want to have a declining health take place that's unnecessary. And it can be rectified by bringing in some animal foods. And of course, it's all experimentation. And because I did feel better, I thought, wow, in fact, initially, I don't think I could get enough into me. I began to eat quite a lot. I thought, what? But I was very depleted. The irony of it is, kind of went into almost keto at first, raw keto, if you like. And because I don't really want to lose weight at all, it tends to burn up fat. So I found that, I lost a little weight that I didn't really want to eat, but I think that will level out, The other thing that happened that found me from all of this, it's sometimes we try and manipulate life and try and carve it around us, craft it around us is a better word. But, again, that's a kind of control, because what I'm learning is that our life experiences are what actually bring us onto a path that can help others. And so what also took place was I found that I was making myself sauerkrauts. And I always liked fermented foods. And, of course, coming to North Thailand, I thought, wow, I'm not going to be able to get certain foods here. And I realised that I had to make a lot. So I started experimenting, and I found I had a bit of a knack for it. I was making all kinds of different sauerkrauts, raw, with all different herbs. And I'm really diving into the different types of herbs here in Thailand, some really great medicinal herbs that obviously I'm going to use in the retreats, and also just the workshops I'll be doing, which will be on gut health. The thing is, whether you're vegan or not, 95% of people now have leaky gut and have digestive problems, and it really is quite epidemic. And particularly I'm seeing it more in younger people, and I think they're the higher carbohydrate diets and the way that the chemicals and the grains have been modified and contaminated with glyphosate, and there's so much more, but people are eating a higher carbohydrate diet, especially with the veganism, and younger people are having incredible autoimmune problems and digestive inflammation, and serious things happen, because they can't deal with the fibers and the chemicals and the lectins and all kinds of things that are taking place for them in their body that they're unable to break down and assimilate. And yet meat appears not to create those problems in people, which is interesting. In fact, it's debunked a few of my concepts around the eating of meat. You know, I've actually found my bowels have become better. Movements, I used to always think that, you know, meat was constipating, that it rots. I mean, I'm actually finding out that this is not the case at all. And a lot of the studies done on people who eat meat also eat what would you say, a sad diet. They eat a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugar. And so they're the things that are actually contributing to the disease and not isolating just meat. In fact, people have actually been reversing disease, including meat in their diet. So it's something that is really fascinating me. But it all comes down to following your own guidance. So, yeah, so okay, that happened, my hair. The sleep was really starting to bother me. I was taking magnesium, was taking lots of different supplements, and I was feeling really relaxed and happy about the decisions I was making. My life was going, and I still couldn't get sleep. I couldn't kind of drop off, and I'd wake every few hours. And now something I have noticed is my bladder has become stronger. I've had, you know, I have a daughter, but I've also had a few other pregnancies that were difficult. I didn't actually have, they were, I had problems. So, you know, I've had some abortions in my past and also a miscarriage. But anyway, so my bladder has always had a little bit of a weakness there, but I've found it's got stronger. I'm actually not going to the toilet. I'm not getting up through the night like I was, you know. So kind of figure it being an organ, it's got stronger, but also I'm not pounding my kidneys and adrenals in the bladder, you know, through sugar. I've taken a lot of the sugar out of my diet, and surprisingly I had a lot of pathogens. Now, so this was very surprising as well, I got to tell you. So I actually went on a bit of a cleanse, and because I got a couple of cats, I thought I'll do some worming for myself as well. So I think that helped with wormwood. Also, what else? Clove. And once I cut all sugar, all fruit, because really, you know, I'm addicted to fruit. I love fruit. And when I was fruitarian, the whole concept is to eat as much as you can and as much as you like till you're full. And being in Thailand with such a variety of fruit available all year round, it was like an addict's paradise. So the last couple of years, my acupuncturist had said, you know, she was concerned there was blood sugar things happening with me. And heart palpitations was one thing that was happening. And of course, sleep problems. So I had red flags appearing, and then this year, or the end of last year, I broke a couple of teeth eating just nuts. So I thought, whoa, something is really not right here. So that was also, it wasn't a red flag at the time, but it wasn't until a few months, what was it now, 9 weeks ago, that I got to a point where I was like starting to feel that I was falling apart, literally. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's so many things I want to do. I was looking and feeling fantastic. And then all of a sudden, and this is not just all of a sudden, this has been building up from depletion, right? Started to happen. And I think I had a lot of reserves to begin with, and also the eggs were a saving grace to a point. But the point is, I was missing a lot of nutrients. There's about 50 or so nutrients that you just can't get in plants. And anyway, we can debate these things back and forwards, but the point is you have to go with your point of reference, which is how you feel and what takes place for you. If something no longer is a symptom or a health problem after taking in meat products or animal products, then that tells you something. So not only that, it's allowed me to have more faith in my inner guidance, to trust in it, because we're getting the messages all the time, you know, and I was getting signals. I was, you know, pretty much helping other people to read their own signals, but denying mine or, overriding them. Because, you know, the truth is, after doing this for 20 years, there's a bit of, my identity was tied up in it, and I didn't realise how much of a habit, the shopping, the food, the way I thought about me, it's all tied in to this whole package of veganism, right? So I found it a little difficult at first, mentally. The biggest obstacle was my mind and getting over that. The next thing that happened, which took about 5 weeks, was my digestion. My digestion went through some stages. I actually had quite a bit of cramping when I ate animal foods. And, I kind of looked at that, and with the knowledge I have, I realised it was bacteria I was missing. I haven't eaten meat for 24 years. So pepsin production, hydrochloric acid. So I started to have more fermented foods that I made, the sauerkrauts, the coconut yogurts, to help to increase the microbiome diversity. And it really worked. So gradually, it's an adjustment period. But I began to no longer have this cramping in my digestion after I'd eaten meat. And it was being digested beautifully. Not only that, I had an enormous amount of die-off in the first few weeks. Pathogenic die-off. Also candida from totally cutting out the sugar. I got to say too, girls, that I lost 2 teeth from veganism. I had this continual tension in my jaw and neck, and I would be having a lot of neck and massages and treatments and so forth, and acupuncture, and it would return. Now, one of the things I noticed within a week was this tension in my jaw completely disappeared, because what would happen with that tension was I tended to clench down on my teeth, and that caused a lot of weakness. But also the teeth themselves weren't as strong. So I got to the point where I got 2 teeth that were really in a bad way from me clenching them. And I had the choice to have a root canal, which I decided not to, and I had them out. But of course, it didn't need to happen. But even then, that in itself wasn't the wake-up call. The wake-up call was when I wasn't sleeping well. I was waking up feeling really trashed. It was every couple of hours. And this low level of anxiety that had begun. And I noticed it more so when I had fruit. It wasn't until I took it out and I had it again that I could feel this feeling coming back. And I thought, I don't like that, because I had this nice, grounded, calm feeling once I started having some animal foods. And that, lovely ladies, is just remarkable. I was blown out when that happened. It really felt like a plug had been filled in my head of this. It was just, and I'd just charge myself into another reality. I really felt more grounded. I felt very calm and very focused. That was another thing that was happening. I couldn't focus for a long period of time on work. I'd get easily distracted or couldn't complete something. And so that's changed. For me personally, I love raw. As I said, I eat all raw plants. I found that I'm not eating as much as I was. I was eating a ton before. And nuts, I've kind of cut that down. And coconut's been fabulous for me, especially fermented. So as it stands now, I have, an egg and fish and some chicken several times a week. And, there's some raw foodists that eat lots of fruit and veggies and also eat raw eggs and steak tartare or beef, capriccio, I think that's how you say it. These animal foods do have constituents in it that we need for hormones and just for well-being. And if that wasn't the case, and I say this because I no longer feel depleted and I don't feel weak. I actually was starting to lose strength too. That was another thing. Whether strength's important to you in lifting or whether it's just opening a really tight lid on a jar, the fact that you can open it easily, that to me means that I've got more strength, right? And as we get older, we want to keep that. It's really important because it keeps us independent. So, but also I've just found that my strength, overall strength and muscle on my legs in particular is staying on. So this change is still going on, but these are the pretty major ones. I'm just seeing what else I can have a look here. Yeah, my mind is kind of not racing around like a monkey. It's a lot more calmer, and that is a really great feeling. And early in the piece, I decided to go back to have some fruit and get, I thought, I don't want to do this. I want to go back into raw vegan because I love the idea of having colourful fruit and vegetables in bowls, and I was still clinging on to that, and so I would, but then the feeling would come back and I'd have that comparison. I go, I don't know if I like this, even though, I was craving a nice juicy papaya or some dragon fruit or something, It was very difficult for me to just have a small amount too, like a really small amount. I'd have it as a meal or something, but nonetheless, a lot of plant foods are high in sugars too. I wasn't eating grains. I've never been a person to eat grains for some reason. But yeah, it's very easy to clock up the sugars and carbs and not have those proteins and fats. And certain fats, I've found animal fats are just really important. So it's been a bit of a journey, and I'm going to report more on that. I've also feel to interview some other women, and Tracy's going to be one of them, who've also found after speaking with me, and I've been discussing my experiences. I've been showing them some videos I've been watching on other long-term ex-vegans who've developed health problems and gone back to eating meat, and those problems have disappeared. And just some of the facts that are so-called facts, opinions that are fed to us about veganism don't add up. To me now, I can see it's like a veil's been lifted. There isn't always logic in the arguments given about how great it is to be vegan, because there really isn't a culture that's done this for the period of time. There hasn't been a culture that's thrived on fruit, that's for sure. We can't really go to an example of that in history. And this veganism is a huge experiment too, in a way. Nonetheless, we've all got different needs, and at any time in our life, it served me well to a certain degree. But there's other things now that I was a bit annoyed at, that it actually cost me some degeneration in some areas of my body unnecessarily. But I also feel I can build that back up again. So will I go back to being vegan or raw? No. I mean, why would I give up the sleep? Why would I have my hair falling out again? I think my skin is better in some ways. People have said I look healthier. It's quite fascinating. It's really, what would you say? It really is a mind screw up, to tell you the truth. It really does turn some of these things on its head. And I'm just still working through it all. So, but basically it's given me more of a direction in that I really want to help a lot more people with the gut side. That's my area of expertise. And I know for sure that fermented foods really help to recolonize the gut. And cutting down sugar, especially as we get older, it really is bad news. It can, and it's in so many things, it's so many foods, especially in Thailand. So cutting down the sugar is a big thing. And a lot of people don't realise how addicted they are. And, the bloating and the gas and a lot of people get very bloated. It's a major health concern for people. Well, not a health concern, but, it's uncomfortable. And so many people have that problem they really don't want to have, So, beans and rice and all these things are tending to cause that more and more in people for some reason. I mean, like I said, the abdominal, the gut area is the emotional filter of the body. And so there's no question that our emotions and what's happening to us on a day-to-day basis is also impacting on the way we digest food, what we digest in life, what we digest that's served up to us every day, whether we find things undigestible or indigestible, or hard to stomach. Even these euphemisms have been used over the years. they actually have a bit of truth in them. You know, person makes me sick, makes my gut boil or blood boil, makes my gut churn. All of these things are actually what happens when we get ourselves into an emotional state. So, you know, that plays a part too. But the point is, when we start to feel more calm, we've got more rationality in how we deal with things. And I found that I actually found that I'm able to go through a problem, it's a perceived problem, and come to a solution that's quite rational and quite, you know, it's not scattered and it's not, it doesn't have all these variables. It just definitely is a nice calmer, stabilizing, stronger feeling in my body, stronger feeling in my teeth. My teeth are no longer sensitive and my jaw feels much stronger. A lot of this tension here has disappeared. So what do we put all this down to, these things that happen? And there's many ex-vegans I've spoken to who had the same results. Their digestion improved dramatically. They found they were stronger. They were able to focus. Their mood improved. So it all comes down to, if you're getting a call from your inner GPS, your guidance, please act on it. Don't only just listen to it, but act on it. It's always got your best interest at heart. It's always leading you to what's right for you. So I give thanks to this part of me that was leading me towards, eat some eggs. This is a message I was getting. Eat some eggs. Eat some eggs. And then I got eat some fish. And it wouldn't stop. It was eat some fish. And so I did. And immediately I felt better. But then it was the mind thing I had to contend to. That was a real battle, believe me. It's not easy to undo a lot of the ideologies, and there was a period of time I didn't know who and what to believe, and who I was. But I held tight to my own inner guidance. And that's what's helped me steer myself through these waters, especially because I'm in a new life altogether as well. So it really has been, it's just beginning, a new journey. So I hope I've been able to, enlighten some of you in some way. When I say enlighten, just give you a perspective on things. I mean, the message I really just want to get across is to follow your own guidance. That's all I feel is important, because we're getting bombarded with so many opinions and judgments and beliefs and dogmas of everybody else around us. And we can get very confused and we don't know what to do and what to believe. So again, we're seeking outside ourselves, and that is pure self-abandonment and cell abandonment, because our cells register that. We're getting signals, but we still turn away from it. So listen to yourself, trust in it, okay? All right, if you've got any questions, is there anything you want clarification on, please put it down. Do you want to show? If you'd like to be interviewed, let me know too. Okay. We'll speak again soon. Thanks for listening, and I love you all. Take care, and we'll speak again soon. Okay, bye.